Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we're diving into an exciting topic: how to send query parameters with your REST API calls. Query parameters are incredibly useful for filtering, sorting, and customizing the data you receive from an API. Ready to enhance your REST API calls with query parameters? Let's get started. In the last video, we learned how to call a GET API using RestTemplate. Now, as you can see on my screen, our employee list API can accept query parameters employee name, department, and page number to filter and fetch specific data. In Postman, we've been manually sending these query parameters to get the desired results. But today, we're going to learn how to send these query parameters directly from our Java code using RestTemplate. Remember our getEmployees method where we used the REST client to make an API call? It's time to take it up a notch by adding query parameters. Let's modify our getEmployees method to handle query parameters. Create a map that holds all the query parameters we want to send. Simply add your parameters to this map, and it will be ready to go. One important thing to keep in mind is that the names of the query parameters in our map need to match exactly with the names expected by the API. So when we add entries to our map, the keys must be the exact same names as the query parameters in the API, and the values will be the data we want to send. This ensures that the API recognizes and processes the parameters correctly. Alright, let's put this into practice. We're going to add two entries to our map. Set employee name to Sohan. Set page no to 1. With these parameters, we expect to get back only the employees whose names contain Sohan on the first page of results. Now that we've set up our parameters, let's pass this map into our getEmployees method. Next, we'll update the REST client method to handle these parameters. This will ensure that our query parameters are included in the API call, so we get the precise data we're looking for. Alright, we've got our query parameters ready to go, but how do we actually add them to the URL? Let's dive in. Query parameters are what come after the question mark in the URL. We need to attach them properly, but here's the catch: if the values have special characters, they need to be encoded. But don't worry, Spring has our back. Instead of doing all that manually, we can use UriComponentsBuilder, a super helpful tool that builds and encodes the URL for us. Why do it the hard way when Spring can make it easy? Let's use UriComponentsBuilder to take care of the heavy lifting and ensure our query parameters are added flawlessly. Now, as we start working with UriComponentsBuilder, you'll notice it offers multiple methods like from HTTP URL, from URI, and many others. Since we have our base URL and resource URL as strings, we'll use from HTTP URL. This method is perfect for our scenario because it lets us pass in the full API URL as a string. As we start adding our query parameters, you'll notice UriComponentsBuilder offers several ways to do it. There's a method called query that takes a pre-formatted query string, but we won't use that one. Another option is queryparam, which expects a multi-value map. If we had used a multi-value map, we could pass it directly, but we're using a regular map. The method we'll use is also called queryparam, which takes the parameter name and value directly. This is perfect for our setup. take a key value pair from our map and set it as a query parameter using UriComponentsBuilder. Now that we've added our query parameters using UriComponentsBuilder, let's finalize the URL. We can easily get the URL as a string and continue using it as we were before, so everything works smoothly. Or if you prefer, you can get the URL as a URI and pass it directly to RestTemplate. Both options are simple and effective. Let's go ahead and get the URL from the builder, either as a string or a URI, and keep things moving. Alright, everything is set up. Now, let's start the application and see it in action. Now that the application is running, let's take a look at the console logs. As you can see on the screen, this time we successfully sent two query parameters, employee name Sohan and page number 1. These parameters were correctly appended to the URL, and everything looks great. Next, we received a 200 OK status code, indicating the request was successful. Looking at the response, we see one employee whose name is Sohan, and the total pages are 1, meaning there are no more employees with the name Sohan. Everything is working just as expected. Now, let's try something different. We'll comment out the employee name parameter and just send page number 2. Alright, let's run the application again with our updated query parameters. As you can see on the screen, this time our URL contains just one query parameter, page number 2. The response shows details for 2 employees on page 2, and the total pages are 3, which means there's more data available beyond this page. Everything is working perfectly, and we can clearly see how adjusting our query parameters changes the results. Thank you for joining me in this session. To summarize, we've successfully learned how to pass query parameters in our REST client and saw how it dynamically changes our API results. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. In the next video, we'll dive into passing media types and headers, and we'll make our REST client code even more generic. Exciting stuff ahead, stay tuned.